Hi, I'm Steve and welcome to my kitchen. Today I want to demonstrate the smart and easy way to make pretzel rolls.
Like these. It's the soft, chewy crust that makes pretzel rolls the perfect complement to buffalo wings and brings a unique flavor and texture to the sandwich.
I have set up the workspace with my utensils and my ingredients.
For the dough I'll be using 3 cups flour, 1½ teaspoon salt, 1/4 teaspoon instant yeast, 1 tablespoon sugar, and 10½ ounces of water. And to give the pretzels their special flavor and texture, I'll be using 3 tablespoons baking soda, 1 egg yolk, 1 to 2 tablespoons water, and coarse sea salt. I'm going to start with the dry ingredients. 3 cups flour. I use the scoop and shake method for measuring flour. I use bread flour, but it's perfectly acceptable to use all-purpose flour. In fact, most people use all-purpose flour for pretzels. Personally, I use bread flour for soft pretzels and all-purpose flour for hard pretzels. Next, 1½ teaspoon salt. I use everyday table salt. There are a number of no-knead recipes in which the salt varies from 1 to 2 teaspoons, depending upon your diet. I use a heaping teaspoon to get my teaspoon and a half. 1/4 teaspoon instant yeast, sometimes referred to as bread machine yeast. And 1 tablespoon sugar. Before we add the wet ingredients, I want to mix the dry ingredients to ensure the yeast, salt, and sugar are evenly distributed throughout the flour. Now it's time for the wet ingredients. 10½ ounces cool tap water. Next, I'll combine the wet and dry ingredients. Those of you who are familiar with no-knead bread probably noted I'm using 10½ ounces versus 12 ounces water. The reason I've reduced the water is because I need to shape the dough to make pretzels. This is what Cooks Illustrated refers to as almost no-knead dough. You will notice some differences in the process and techniques I use. Because I'm using less water, I get to a point where stirring the dough with a spoon becomes less effective. Don't fight it. Use your spatula. Then rinse one hand in water. Pick up the dough ball, turn it over several times, and the moisture from your hand will coat the outside of the dough ball and pick up the last bits. Then smooch the dough a couple more times. And we're done. All we need to do now is cover the bowl with plastic wrap, leave it on the counter to proof, and Mother Nature will do the kneading for us. I'll see you in 8 hours. No-knead dough should be proofed for 8 to 18 hours, which gives you a lot of flexibility. You can make the dough in the morning, bake in the late afternoon, and have pretzel dinner rolls for your evening meal. Or you can make the dough in the evening, bake the next morning, and have oven-fresh pretzel sandwich rolls for your lunch. The dough is proofed for 8 hours and more than doubled in size. This is what no-knead bread is all about. You replace the arduous task of kneading with long proofing times. Mother Nature did the work for you. Okay, it's time to bake the rolls. I set up my workspace. Next, I'll dust the workspace with flour and scrape the dough out of the bowl. Its stringy nature tells us Mother Nature has done her job. With floured hands, I'm going to lightly pat the dough to flatten. Then using a plastic bowl scraper, I'll fold the dough over onto itself, form it a ball, then knead the dough a couple of times. For demonstration purposes, I'm going to make 4 dinner rolls and 3 sandwich rolls. I'll start by dividing the dough in half and forming each half into a ball. This ball I'll divide into 4 parts to make dinner rolls. Then I'll form each portion into a roll by using my fingers to stretch the top and tuck the dough into the bottom. This ball I'll divide into 3 parts for sandwich rolls. Sandwich rolls should be a little larger than dinner rolls. Once again, I'm stretching the top and tucking into the bottom, but I'm trying to form an oval. And they're ready to proof. I've placed the dough on a floured surface and covered it with a flour sack towel to proof. Before I leave the kitchen, I'll prep the oven. I've positioned the rack in the lower part of the oven and inserted the baking stone. I do it in advance so I don't forget. I'm going to proof the dough for half an hour, so I'm setting the timer for 30 minutes. I don't proof pretzels, pretzel sticks, or pretzel bites, but I do proof pretzel rolls because I'm looking for a slightly different texture in a roll than a pretzel. It's been 30 minutes and I'm setting the oven to 450 degrees. While the oven is preheating, I'll poach the pretzels. I set a cooling rack off to one side with a towel underneath it to catch the moisture. I set a sheet of parchment paper about the size of my baking stone off to the other side. By making the parchment paper the size of the baking stone, it will help me space the pretzels so that they will fit on the baking stone. It's time to poach the rolls. Poaching is the added step that makes a pretzel a pretzel. This step is what gives a pretzel its nice chewy crust. I filled a large skillet with 2 inches of water and brought it to a boil. Now I'm going to reduce it to a simmer and add baking soda 1 tablespoon at a time. It's going to foam. That's why I do it 1 tablespoon at a time. Next, I'll drop the pretzel rolls into the water, 3 to 4 at a time, and poach them for 30 seconds on each side. I'm going to remove them with a slotted spatula and place them on the cooling rack to drain. Then I repeated the process for the rolls. It's time to make the egg wash. 1 egg yolk and 1 to 2 tablespoons water. The egg wash will give the pretzels a nice glossy appearance. Just transfer the egg yolk from one side to the other and the egg white will fall into the bowl. Then use the shell to measure the water. You don't need to be exact. The purpose of the water is to dilute the egg yolk so that it will be easier to brush under the pretzels. Next, I'll transfer the rolls to the parchment paper. Baste them with the egg wash. Sprinkle on a little sea salt. And I'll finish by scoring the tops with a knife. They're ready for the oven. I'm going to use a pizza peel to pick up the pretzels, including the parchment paper, and insert them into the oven on the baking stone. I'm setting the timer for 16 minutes. I'll see you then. It's been 16 minutes and the pretzels are ready. Let's take them out. The pizza peel is a very convenient tool for reaching into a hot oven. I'll just slide it under the parchment paper. Here they are. What do you think? I like my bread when it's still hot to the touch. Let's cut one open and take a look inside. The crust is soft to the touch and the crumb looks delicious. This is better than a lot of local bars. I'm having a pretzel dinner roll with my buffalo wings, and my wife is having a ham sandwich with a pretzel sandwich roll. Food doesn't get any better than this. I have a variety of videos demonstrating no-knead breads as smart and easy recipes. You may want to take a look at my YouTube channel. It's free. Just click on the Artisan Bread with Steve tab above this screen.